Right, so we are back. Hang on, is anyone gone? Start. Let's give it that. Right, we are back for some more action and stuff. Now, of course, I was thinking, since there was going to be more stuff going on while I'm answering the various questions and things cropping up, that I might as well have a fair bit of maybe gameplay and stuff in not widescreen, you know, on full screen, but instead just going on the standard sort of, what do you call it? Window mode. That's the one. Should have remembered, since the whole operating system is called literally Windows. But either way, we can have a look at what can we have in window mode. Oh, shall I take up too much of my attention? Just having a look, see if there's anything that would be interesting, but wouldn't massively distract me from everyone around. Tell you what, let's have a look at Project Zomboid. That thing can run in window mode, and I can pause and all of that stuff for some exciting times. Once it is loaded, because my default setting is usually full screen, as I'm normally playing this, I was going to say, what, solo? Yeah, I suppose I can say solo. Not as opposed to multiplayer, but as opposed to with other people watching. I'm going to keep rambling like this until someone asks me a question, as per usual. Except, it appears to be a bit sort of frozen. So I didn't check that everything is still going okay. But yes, whenever, just feel free to ask any questions, and I shall answer. Of course, usual rules apply, so within reason. So you have the option to skip this, so I can see you guys. Ah, full screen. No, thank you. Makes a funny old interface. This should work. Let's make it a bit quieter. I don't want this drowning out. So in that case, I will keep going until it is time. In fact, let's have a test. Can you guys hear me? Charismatic, well, probably not, voice. Otherwise, obviously I don't want to be in a situation where you guys can't actually ask questions and have them answered properly. That would be ridiculous and embarrassing, to say the least. You know what? I'm going to start again from the beginning. Actually, let's load it up. I don't know, let's try the existing one. Get straight into the action. Well, even though we would pretty much have anyway. According to this, I've got someone watching, so... Viewer, presumably you want to ask questions, but if you're new and you haven't been going to the channel, basically answer questions about usual sorts of historical European martial arts, archery, armour, sword fighting, all those sorts of medieval style topics, going from experience. In fact, I've recently been getting back into archery. It's kind of embarrassing actually. I was trying to do some basics about things like the anchor point, correct usage of fletchings when knocking, which is putting the arrow in a string and all of that. And I had someone from another channel who probably professionally teaches archery, giving extra hints and tips. Now, of course, I love getting information and learning new things, of course, but, you know, it's sort of like the teacher being a student. Although I suppose it is fair, since I haven't been doing archery nearly as long as I've been doing HEMA now. So I've been doing that sort of historical European martial arts for, what, maybe 6 years or something? Yeah, something like 6 or 7 years it'll be reaching. Whereas I'd only been doing archery for about a couple of years or so, from 16 to 18, and I had to pretty much swap them for each other because I just didn't have enough time and money to go around back and forth between an archery club and a historical European martial arts club. I'm surprised no one's asking questions or doing anything yet. Unfortunately, I know that. Actually, does it? I think it's one of these games that can start. No, I think it was from the Ilbums build, which stands for I will back up my save. Basically sort of a beta version, but I don't think it would work now that I've gone out of it for the purposes of public broadcasting. So I'll just start a new game from the beginning. Really slow today. Oh well. So, in that case, I will just keep going, set this all up, while I'm waiting for people to start asking the usual questions. Meantime, I suppose I can general sorts of things going on. So, in general, notice the channel's been not doing that well. Because, well, what can I say? Several subscribers, only gathered one recently, and it's not been great, suffice it to say. But hopefully, with things like the archery going on, more into it. But I was thinking of covering other topics, like talking about the social contract and other such philosophy topics, as well as other peculiar things I was going to mention about one of my pet hates in games that not many people tend to think about, but I think has a significant effect, which is atoms being lost. As in, it's like in Minecraft when a creeper blows up the ground, sometimes the stuff that's being blown up doesn't turn into blocks you can collect and replace, but is permanently destroyed, which can also mean rare materials and things. But this came up most especially recently in Oxygen Not Included. You have things like oxygen, of course. The namesake is, of course, that you have to make sure you're producing enough oxygen to breathe, but it means that when you've got things like the... It's going to be interesting to calibrate. But anyway, so yes, it means that you end up with oxygen being lost, and instead of it being converted into carbon dioxide, like it works in real life, it sort of gets partially transferred, you sort of get, you know, let's say a third or half the amount. So what happens is, you have these little terrariums, which are, you know, little plant sort of areas full of algae, which take the carbon dioxide from the air, convert it into oxygen again. Simple, right? Except, of course, because there's less, and it also does that on the terrarium, what ends up happening is, you start off with a fair amount of oxygen, it turns into a fair amount of, you know, should turn into a fair amount of carbon dioxide. Instead you've got plenty of oxygen, it turns into a bit less carbon dioxide, and then converts back into a bit less oxygen, and a bit less. You can see where this is going. It ends up scaling down until you end up with a near vacuum. As in, I actually once saw a time when there was, you know, it started with 1.5 kilograms in, you know, in a particular square. It's a bit like Minecraft or The Sims in that you have squares. But it started with the square having 1.5 kilograms of breathable oxygen. Cool. People are breathing in, breathing out. It's going to turn into carbon dioxide. I knew that. But by the time I was doing all the conversion back and forth, I ended up with 5 grams of the stuff. So, you know, it basically, atoms were lost, it all disappeared. So all of this preparation I've done to have it converting back and forth, you know, having little plants and things to convert carbon dioxide back into oxygen, which of course is just how it works in real life. Instead, the atoms were lost and ended up with literally unbreathable air. In fact, air is a generous term because it was a near vacuum, like I said. So, although it seems like a nitpick at first, oh yes, it's just kind of slightly different numbers and oh whatever, no need to be so anal about it, Jonathan. But, actually, in the long run, it turns a situation that's perfectly manageable into a situation that's completely impossible. I mean, I can end up digging out and getting new areas filled with oxygen, little pockets there, and use algae in the ground to convert back again. But really, all you're doing is staving the inevitable. And it's bad enough you need to do things like harvest algae to convert into oxygen through a deoxidizer or whatever tools you're using. So you're already in a situation where your resources are constantly draining and you must expand constantly, which is an interesting feature of the game and it certainly would work, except someone died. Anyway, means that it becomes oppressively vacuum-filled and impossible at a very rapid rate. I mean, it's funny, I was basically starving the duplicants of these because of the fact that you just have to gather resources, and really breathing in and out is actually more preferable to having sufficient workers to dig out all the algae and other resources needed to make more oxygen. I had to do it all at an industrial grade. I dug out. Anyway, basically, I've hit on the right hand side. Call it eastwards or not, it's not necessarily such. But I basically dug all the way over to this stuff called the neutronium, which is like the edge of the map. So, cannot go any further, so then I have to go left, up, and down, and then I will reach the edges of the map. So I won't be able to gather any more resources, the oxygen will no longer turn into carbon dioxide, there won't be enough of it to go around. I'll have an area filled with a vacuum, and it becomes absolutely inevitable that within a short time, the duplicants will die. Doesn't matter how good my agriculture is, how good all the setup is with the terrariums and other special fancy things and the research and development, doesn't matter. They're going to die. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that's one of the worst things you can have in the game, right? I mean, you have this game Project Zomboid, and they say your death is inevitable, but really, there's nothing stopping you from living forever except for the challenges. You have your challenges, and you overcome them. Everyone who's played computer games will know that's how they bloody work. You have computer games, you have the challenges, you overcome the challenges of varying difficulties, and then, as you're winning, you then gain progress and other rewards in-game. If you make a situation where it is literally impossible for the characters to overcome the obstacles and challenges, then the game stops being fun, doesn't it? Because it's no longer, oh, this is a really difficult challenge, but next time I'll do it right. It's just, it's impossible. It doesn't matter what the hell I do, it's going to be over. Which is why, well, apart from the fact that the live streaming doesn't seem to work properly on it, that's the reason why I'm on Project Zomboid. Because there are challenges, and yes, they get very tough sometimes. And I'm currently on a version of an easy mode, but that's just to keep it casual, so I can respond to you. Ironic for saying that, even though no one's responding. Nope. Don't try it. Gotcha. What's in the box? Not much stuff. Tell you what, let's rip it up. Anything. We can have sheets for bandages and such things. Ooh, another box. What's in the box? Not much. Screwdriver's useful. So I can do things like dismantle a Valuetech radio. There we are. Some electronic scrap, electric wire. You get better at taking things apart and having a look at their inner machinations. It improves electronic skills. Yay. God, that bugger didn't give up easily. Let's have a check. Is anyone watching this? Yes, they are. Okay. So... on them. Geographically, I'm starting to get a bit used to West Point by now. Wrong measure. Okay, I got away with that one. Could have been a second push and more delays. Yeah. Oh, aha! User Gatelord has joined the living. This is good. So maybe we shall have the questions and answers starting to flow. I hear knocking. Get. Murder you, her. a saucepan. Wait, it's a frying pan. Not quite with saucepan yet. Just take the shortcuts. Actually, what am I doing? I don't need to type the response. Am I playing the game live? Yes, I am. I really am. I've got it in a little window, so it's not just a bit of pre-recorded footage. I am actually playing it now. That's why I'm doing the commentary. I'm not just going recorded footage and like some commentator, oh yeah, I know I'm going to hit him in the head and it'll work, but you go, Johnny! It's actually, yeah, I'm playing it live. It's funny though, I've tried live streams with oxygen not included, but it didn't seem to work. I don't know if it's some weird situation or something. It didn't seem to cooperate with my live streams. I was always getting to just in the point of the live stream where it was starting to begin, you know, actually starting to load up properly, and then nothing, just constantly buffering. Oh, can't fit it in the box. Ah, perks. Top 5 games of all time. Ooh, tell you what, one of my favourites of all time, which I tried to load and tried to do proper gameplay footage with my best friend Ryan. It was the time I did that failing to load Hogs of War. I know it's basically Worms, but I mean, with the way you've got classes, so you're not just using a shared inventory. Here you've got 5 rocket launchers. Each character has these things, and they tactically decide to pick up equipment. So maybe one guy picks up the special Super TNT, but actually you could have, maybe you want Percy to pick it up instead of Reginald or whoever the character is. And they've also got different voices, so they represent countries. They've got stuff like Tommy's for the English and and British and that sort of thing. But they've even got individual voices, so one of them's a farmer, usually one I pick as an engineer. So there he is with a shotgun. I don't like barriers and get off my land! And that sort of stereotypical southwest Cornwall, Devon, Somerset sort of area. And others with sort of snivelly voices and all kinds of things. So that's an interesting sort of perk as well. So it's not just here are the worms and they've got these voices. Apart from that, the PlayStation, the original, not later generations, but back in the early stuff, they had it in 3D, so it was much more open for battlefields, even though they had limited squares of what was actually available to play in. It still felt more open because you had all these terrains up and down on hills. So yeah, it feels that, and also just the weapons and the tactics were brilliant. It was something that, with simplicity, produced a lot of diversity. It felt like a chess. The rules are simple, and the stuff you can do is pretty basic, but the outcomes and all of the scenarios that play out are practically infinite. But yet, in an interesting sense, not just 200 shades of grey, you know, here's grey, here's concrete, and here's toad, or whatever. It feels like it's worthwhile. Oh, I'm getting distracted. Apart from that, other top 5 games, I mean, I wasn't exaggerating when in my review of Dying Light I said I really liked it. The plot was... I mean, it was basically cliche and trope stuff. You've got your card-carrying villains, generic, almost a Mary Sue-like character as the main guy. But the actual physical gameplay, going around doing the parkour stuff, climbing around, and all these zombies, chasing you around and using diverse weapons to smash and crash and bash your way to victory was fun. I really liked it. And the DLC didn't feel like cut content. They added fascinating stuff like bows, which is interesting. Instead of having firearms, you could use a bow with, of course, the usual physics, so the arrows drop. You could create the ammunition and pick it back up again instead of firing bullets and not reusing them. So, you know, that I've done. It would be too long to repeat again. I said it all in my review, but yes, I really did like it, despite the fact that the actual storyline was boring. You know, it was really predictable. You know what's going to happen with Rise, who's the main bad guy, and Crane, who's the main good guy. You can pretty much see it coming. So if it was a story-driven game, it would have been really shoddy. But again, it was the actual physical gameplay, which actually leads on to one of my next ones. I really liked State of Decay. I don't play it here because I don't really find it intuitive. It doesn't work well with a keyboard. It really is a controller-based game. I struggle to even do basic fighting and stuff when I'm using mouse and keyboard because it doesn't work with a mouse, and the way the keys were set out, it didn't work. I had to realign them and change the layout, and I still wasn't happy. Whereas when I was on my Xbox controller, I was bobbing and weaving. I was becoming a bit of a master at close combat on that thing, only struggling against the really serious bosses and bad guys. And again, the storylines and stuff were, again, it wasn't something amazing in terms of plot and storyline. In fact, depending on what sort of game mode you were using, you could almost say certain parts didn't even have that, with just playing the game in a physical sense. But it was a great sandbox, and it was filled with stuff going on, loot and managing a base, having survivors with skills. There were definitely lots of complaints I'd have, like I'd have certain useless survivors who had their skill sets which actually would make them... They'd have things like the Nimble and Powerhouse, which unlocks special close combat skills only available to those types of characters. And you had certain things like someone who is good at construction, someone who can do this, that and the other. So special skills that were unique and could do special things, but others who only had certain perks like they're a cyclist, and that means they gain an extra point of cardio, but once you're training the characters up, everyone's got good statistics, and it doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. And apart from that, they're kind of useless because they don't bring anything new to the table. So those are complaints I'd have. It didn't feel like the characters were unique enough except in their sort of descriptions. It was a story type of, kind of a, this is what makes them special, they have these traits, which you don't really see when they're having dialogue. It was just in a sort of text-based description. This guy used to work as a garbage disposal person or whatever. So you could read it and go, oh right, but nothing actually brought out in their characteristics. But again, it's that situation of the physical gameplay in the sandbox was really good, and it was fun for a very long time. Apart from that, I really liked Gary's mod, and in fact, even yesterday I was playing on it. That was a good game. I really didn't like certain features, like how many of the textures that were in most of the extra packs were based on another game, Counter-Strike Source. And unless you had the rights of I struggled to find the right sort of texture packs to get it all perfectly, and usually when I asked people, the response was the sort of response I hated, which was, in order to get all of the textures and everything to work properly, you need to buy CSS, Counter-Strike Source. Now, I personally found that to be just abysmal, because, that's literally telling someone, so here's this game you've bought. In order to play it, you must also buy another separate, unrelated game. No thanks. But saying that, the actual core gameplay, I mean, once you get past the annoyance of the missing textures and that stuff going on with the Counter-Strike source, I mean, it really is a good game at heart. And I don't think the creators intended for you to, you know, have to buy another game separately. That's just what the community and other modders did. So it's no fault of their own. No fault of Gary, I guess. In Gary's mod. Excuse me. So yes, the actual, again, it comes back to physical gameplay. It was good. You had game modes like Trouble in Terrorist Town, which is like a whodunit, except everyone's armed to the teeth with various firearms. You had Zombie Survival, where instead of just AI zombies anyone can predict, you had player zombies who think and try to get around defences and smash up the barricades, and people doing clever ways to make shooting holes and do all kinds of things. So there was sort of this team versus team gameplay, but you could use these clever tactics and do things like have the zombies decide to all swarm and attack at once, rather than just attack steadily, and they'd kind of pile up and then 3, 2, 1, go! And they'd all smash the barricades and it became overwhelming, and you know, things like that. And things like Prop Hunt, which is like hide and seek, where you turn into furniture like a chair. And, you know, you could do and role-playing servers, and basically it was one of those 100 games in one sorts of things. And it was, you could say it was lazy, because they're basically having the community do it all for them, but it's not downloadable content. You pay the £15, whatever, for the game, and you own it. So, you know, the actual developers weren't making people buy extra content mandatorily. It was just free content shared about to play special game modes and have fun. And there's nothing wrong with, I mean, you know, effort doesn't necessarily make a game better. Some people put a lot of effort into something that actually turns out to be really poor. Oh, and let me know if the audio is too quiet or too loud. No, there isn't. Okay, it's quite hungry. Gary's mod. Obviously, I don't know if I've mentioned it yet. I do quite like the concept of Project Zomboid. Quite a good game. I was thinking, I mean, there are so many games I've enjoyed over time. I've kind of got bored of them because I played them to death and beyond. You know, and other games that I'm kind of more excited about in recent times. But yeah, generally I like games for the physical core gameplay. I mean, I do like story and character development. I enjoyed things like the Telltale games, which were story driven, but it felt like the gameplay, the physical choices and things you could do with it. Oh, I can remember one thing. Bethesda have really impressed me over the years. For the very reason I bought my first Xbox 360 back in the day was so I could play on The Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And I've felt similarly happy about The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. It's got ones like that. There are others too, like, of course, Fallout 3 I thoroughly enjoyed, and Fallout 4, much the same. I mean, back in the day when I was younger, I used to mostly actually enjoy city builder games, like Anno 1404, Emperor, Rise in the Middle Kingdom, Caesar 3, those sorts of things. Those were quite fun. So it's funny, I have sort of moods, so back in the day I probably would have told you those types of games were my all-time favourites. But these days I'm more inclined to, well, I guess fighting games really. So yeah, I suppose you can almost say it depends on my... See, I told you I'm playing this live. Okay then. Ruh. Die. Die. Go on. So yeah, those are the sorts of things I basically... Although some games I do recognise, you know, I can understand the complaints that they are... Oh, come on, mouse. They are quite bad in terms of things like plot and story. I have still thoroughly enjoyed them because of the physical gameplay. And that's the common trait amongst them, so that's why I've enjoyed them, and my favourites tend to fluctuate, really. I mean, Kingdom Come Deliverance might well be one of my all-time favourites when it comes out, but I always would like to reserve my judgment until it's come out, because I thought that maybe DayZ would be a good game, and that game is awful. Good concept, but they never really did much of it. They basically just, you know, got my money, goodbye, off you go sort of attitude. So I don't give much of a care for them developers. Hence, again, I reserve my judgment, and I hope that Kingdom Come Deliverance is one of the good ones and not one of the bad ones, but I don't want to assume either way. Excuse me. That's my thought on my sort of top games. So that's why I'm struggling to answer. I can't really say what my top 5 games of all time are, because I don't know. I have moments where I have an old game I actually went off and thought I didn't really like. I went back into it and quite liked again. Excuse me. There we go. Oh, I think I broke the saucepan. But yes. I mean, I don't know if you heard me saying it earlier, but I was mentioning actually I had one particular complaint with games in general. And that, actually I'll find out first. I mean, I don't know if you want me to talk about particular complaints about games, or if you want me to talk about more medieval topics, or even about what I actually like rather than what I dislike about games. Because I notice you're asking me my favourite games, so I wouldn't want it to go off into my some sort of topic that I've flown off into about what I hate about games rather than love. So I know the chat tends to delay a bit. So what do you think? Time to do cooking with Jonathan. Welcome to our game show, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh. So you play games more and talk about games, etc. Alright. I mean, to be honest, one thing I quite hated about doing gameplay was that, well, I was a bit worried that people would end up going off my channel and thinking I'm just a gaming channel, rather than covering things like HEMA, but actually it was mainly to do recording, whereas it looks like live streaming is the way forward with regards to that. So yeah, perhaps I can have a look at doing that as well. Getting into archery in my downtime, I can stream games. In fact, I was trying to do that with what's the game called again? Oxygen Not Included. I was playing it, but it was having problems with streaming, so I've decided not to stream that particular game. Well, of course, that doesn't prevent me from streaming other games, like Project Zomboid. Like I said, playing a round of Cooking with Jonathan. Do I hear a knock on the door? Hello? Ugh, zombies everywhere. Nothing useful. Oh, dinner's ready. It's my character's been tired for a while now. Turn that off. Wait, it's not fully cooked. You actually like the mouldy bread there. To be honest, I was kind of a bit desperate for content, so I just put that up. Also, I was trying to prove to my best friend, yes, I'm not kidding when I talk about fluffy, I call it fluffy bread. Because it kind of is sort of fluffy, just, not the, sort of, as you'll notice, I'm sort of guessing. Almost as bad as in real life. Actually, no, I'm probably worse in real life. Oh, yes! 20 minutes to cook it. Alrighty. I think I'll just have all of it. Still hungry. Right then, let's make... there's not much. Should probably have a house where I gather the stuff like I usually do. Radish stir fry. And meat stir fry. Now let's give it a name. Sure there was a rename option. It used to be. Unless that's been removed. That'd be a shame. I like the rename option. Call it something. The Amazing Burnt Surprise! Yeah, so... yeah, it's a bit more in it this time, so give it half an hour. There we go. There we are, in case I need to make an emergency exit. Is there a light switch in here? No. Let's rest, not sleep. I do not want to leave that thing to burn. You can burn houses down with the oven being left on. So, you know, as Windows would advise, not recommended. Oh, she cooked it quite thoroughly. Oh well. It is a, it's well done. Yeah, that's what it is. It's not really burnt. It's probably a medium. That's a typical day for PC Genie, you look like. Well, I mean, admittedly, some parts are pretty boring. I've had days where I've spent most of them, you know, it's like I'd have a day off work and I'd just spend about 12 out of my 16 hours a week on video games like this. Pretty much. Can I grab one? No, I can't grab another corpse. Admittedly, I've always wanted to do commentary on these things, but I'm not great at commentary. I don't brilliant at it like some people are. But, you know, yelling murder whilst smacking a zombie in the head with a crowbar sounds like fun. And I don't know why, but maybe it's particular acting that is profitable to live streamers or blah blah blah, but it seems like a lot of people sort of either act or really are cowardly. You know what I mean? It's kind of like they'd be on generic jump scare game, or they go, oh, whoa! You know, it's like they basically end up like Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. In fact, half expect if they were a dog, they probably would jump on their owner's arms and start chattering teeth and all the rest of it. So I'm the opposite, I'm the utilitarian one. Or perhaps more of a grim one. Probably because I'm a pessimist, really. It's like, you know, every time someone goes, what's the worst that could happen? I advise them to collect a comfy chair and a sick bucket. Because, you know, everything leads to potentially death, destruction. Oh, hello Routshire. I am playing. See, I don't know if you can see it up there. It is probably going to come up very small on your screen. But I am playing Project Zomboid, which sort of gives away what the game's about. But it's basically survival. Well, you can have single player or multiplayer. I'm doing it single player on a sort of easy mode. Initial infection. With cooking. Well, I mean, you can see my skills in the box here. So stuff like sprinting around, you know, stamina management, sneaking up on things and smacking them on the head, climbing through windows and over fences and stuff, hitting things with sharp things and impact things, carpentry, so building structures. In fact, you can even make walls and parts of houses, you know, doors, basically everything here you can pretty much manufacture, and you know, they end up looking more crude or more high quality depending on how good your carpentry is. Mine, of course, presently will look awful because I am at carpentry technically 0. But it's funny, I sort of have kind of starting to get towards slightly mixed. I mean, I'd say positive, but slightly less extremely positive than before, because this game has been around and in development for a while now, and they were promising things like, for example, about a year or so ago, they promised animations update. Basically, all of this would look more smooth, and they showed videos, and it looked pretty amazing. And now they've gone on to make things like cars and annotatable maps. Now, don't get me wrong, it's nice. You know, the concept... Oh, let's put these dead mice in the fridge. But, it's just that it seemed like they were all distractions, you know. It's like if I tell you... Well, I suppose like if I went and told you after I did the last live stream, I told you I was going to do archery videos, and then instead I just did, I don't know, more HEMA videos like I'd previously been doing. Not just as well like I did in real life, but instead, that'd be kind of disappointing if I promise that and don't deliver it, even if, you know, something nice is delivered. That's sort of how I feel with this. They've promised the update for a while now to change the animations, and I guess they are having, you know, a couple of problems and things, but presumably nothing excessively more than one could predict developing a game, like they've been already doing for ages. It's not like this is a brand new experience, yet they seem to have distracted themselves with all this about, oh look, annotatable maps, which I do like, they're very useful. Excuse me, get a map of the area. Put annotations on, you know, say safe house here. I put crosses through houses I've searched already. Where are they? I don't know where the maps are going. In fact, you know what? This is gonna be a bit more boring. I can always pause. Yeah, you know what? I can just pause if I want to talk to you guys. Well, you know, I want to read messages and whatnot. And I'm finding it easy enough with this split screen, seeing when a new message comes in or not, so I will go for my extreme sandbox, make it a bit more exciting. So in terms of poundage bows that I shoot, I have previously, the maximum that I have gone up to, I would say up to about 50, which was just about what I could manage. But I've been out of practice for so long, I'm probably back down to about 40, 35. I'm doing okay with a... yeah, so I'm doing okay with the whole situation I've got, you know, with... Where was I? Oh yes! I'm sort of using a 30-pound point bow, and I'm noticing that it doesn't feel as light as it used to. Whereas when I'm trying to use things like the English longbow, which was 45 and has sort of, through usage and bending, it's probably got back to about 42, say. I'm noticing it's very, well, it's very difficult. I can, if I had to defend myself, I probably could actually physically draw and shoot something like a 45 or 50-pound drawing bow. But if I actually do that regularly, I'm going to end up developing very bad habits. What I'd end up doing is, you know, sort of, my structure and my body would start to get malformed and bad things would start to happen because I'd be trying to compensate and put maximum strength in the draw rather than, you know, get better at doing archery like I'm supposed to. So hence. So yeah, that's why I've gone back down again. I'm using the, it's like my couple of videos that you might have seen, my recent ones. The American, sorry my voice is going clean today. My American flatbow that I've been using, it's a particular brand called the Golden Trophy model, and it's only a 30-pound draw weight, which is fairly lightweight. In hunting terms, I mean, you could kill a man, you could obviously kill quite a few things with it, but in terms of what you could reliably and painlessly kill, I'd say you could only hunt small game like maybe rabbits, which you could shoot with about a 20-pound bow, maybe something up to something like a dog, but I mean something like a deer or a bear, you'd be talking, you should be shooting things like 60 to 80 pound, well, I mean something like a deer, maybe something like a 45 perhaps, but ideally as a proper archer, especially something like for war, I should at least be looking at a 60 to 80 pound draw weight. And when I'm looking, if I want to claim that I'm using any war bow, like a proper English longbowman, I need to get to about 100 to 120 pounds. So obviously I have a very long way to go. And I am admittedly not the strongest. I was quite weak as a child, and I've had a lot of catching up to do. Some people have stayed fairly consistent. It might be an advantage that I'm perhaps increasing at a good rate, so I'm going to end up being that short and stocky build that I've always wanted. But I need to actually make the progress, going from a noodle-armed kid who literally had about, well, aged not 16-year-old, maybe my 15, 14-year-old boy. It was sometime like that. I had some 12-year-old girls beat me in an arm wrestle. I really was that weak. It was something about my autism, and I couldn't stand the taste of vegetables. I wasn't that kid who eats, you know, just junk instead. What happened is I just lost my appetite, and my parents got quite worried about me actually because I was ending up very underweight, which is ironic considering I'm rather overweight now. I'm getting getting a lot more zombies in this one. The server. High risk, high reward build. Getting distracted there. Move it! What's he got? Nothing useful. Gonna go through, but no. Can't even. Nothing against your skin colour, but black or white, that's a bloody zombie. Just like these guys. That guy, that one. There's this. Aha! Did have it on these custom settings that most doors are locked, so that's key. Also got a character build that's very unlucky. Go away. Let's take the risk. Hopefully it's one man. Climb through. Stay out in the open. Yeah, one of the things that I quite liked was when Jim Giant, another user, recommends maybe having a look at him, especially if you like looking at strength, you know, exercise and fitness, specifically related to things like HEMA. He's really good at that. You've got people who just do bodybuilding, and he issued me a what's called Fit Me challenge, which is where I try to increase my fitness over that month. I've decided to get stronger, much stronger. I'm trying to lift weights and get much stronger over this month. I've not done very well. I've distracted myself a few times and forgotten, because I'm a very forgetful character. I've certainly made some noticeable progress. But it's funny, you get different muscles. So I've focused on the raw muscles, so sort of thing you use for lifting furniture, wielding a heavy axe or something like that. But for things like archery, which I've been trying to do a variety of muscles, but those are the biggest focus. Raw muscles, so I could help out in certain jobs and things more. But for things like sword fighting, my forearm muscles I notice help quite a lot. So holding a sword in a high guard, especially a single-handed sword, its forearm muscles really start to strain after a while. And for archery, it's all in the back muscles, so around in the shoulders and shoulder blades. Because that's as you're pulling the bowstring back, that's where it starts to strain, as opposed to things like your biceps and your whatever the forearm lumps are called. I'm not a biologist. Wow, these zombies really didn't fit, do they? Just got a moderate army after me. In fact, let's play a game, count the zombies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably about 30 of them, which is going to increase to about 40 as I go on here. Come get me. Take that mutation, brilliant. Ah! It's getting difficult to hear me. There we go, that should be quieter. Anyway, what games give good representation of archery? To be honest, it's not too bad in quite a lot of games. I say that stuff like close combat is rubbish, but archery, of course, the things that's so difficult about archery are mainly in the consistency and whatnot, so once you've got an animation, one of the joys is that you can show a consistent archer in a realistic fashion by getting a good looking shot once, and there's no variation on that. So stuff like the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, even the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, a lot of games have already got it pretty okay. You can nitpick at certain bits here and there, and all of that, but I mean, in terms of the core, this looks reasonably realistic. Like I say, stuff like Elder Scrolls Skyrim, okay? Usually what they get silly is that loading and knocking a bow is too quick and easy. They just sort of You see it especially, remember, in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. All they did was they kind of take an arrow out of their back quiver and sort of slap it on the bow. It teleports into the right position, and then they draw the string. Whereas actually, if you ever see a new person, they're trying to put the knot, which is the sort of split in the back of the arrow, into the string. And they sometimes they literally take a good minute just trying to do that. Whereas what you need to do is you sort of place on the bow, put it into string, and in fact a lot of it is kinesthetic experience. It's learning by feel. If you look at the arrow, it will help, but really you should actually feel where the arrow is in relation to the string and just adjust it from there with your individual finger dexterity. It's very much how I do things like spinning arrows and all that silly nonsense when I'm doing videos. It's all the same thing. You just shouldn't really be looking at it, even though it can help to a slight degree. The best advantage is by feeling it, and that is what's worst represented in a game. So in terms of games that represent that aspect, they're fairly consistent really in their bad representations. And some people might complain because there's the Mediterranean loose, which is the sort of standard, one of the standard European ways of doing archery. So one finger above the arrow, two fingers below. Whereas if you are representing people like in Mount and Blade, you're representing people like the Mongolians, for example. They actually have these sort of more pinch-like sort of draws. The arrow is on the whatever arm's your dominant on that side of the bow. So for a right-handed person on the right side of the bow, as opposed to the left for a Mediterranean loose. Just sort of details like that which are more noticeable, which they could get right. So it'd be interesting to show. I think it'd be nice, you know, with stuff like fighting, you know, that you've got all these graphics, you know, you've got here's this Asian person who's maybe from Mongolia or China, and they'll have these curved swords and silken robes and obviously different skin tones and different shaped faces, and even voices of course change. And I always find it strange that you don't go whole hog and have the you know, stuff like they don't have the fighting styles and the, you know, the methods of drawing a bow shown. And I mean, it could be really easy in something like archery, because all you need to do, you can have it in your options or character customization or something, and you can flow it in so it doesn't look too game and interface like. Excuse me, maybe in text, so are you more of a this sort of style person or more kind of Eastern style or whatever. And it would change it so that you've got a different animation, but the end result is the same. The arrow is shot from the bow, and it, you know, does the same power and the damage, and the arrow drops at the same rate, but the actual animation changes for the same effect. And that would be cool, because you'd have these people, rather than looking like they're all robots, copying each other and doing the same motion repetitively. You've got these people who look kind of, you know, have these oriental styles in their movements, the way they knock, draw and loose the bow, and then you have these European styles, and of course obviously you could have that applied to the fighting. And in fact you can have similar styles, you know, maybe this action injures the arms so they can't fight as well, or this attack goes for the head so that it does more damage if it lands, or such and such going on. But you have slightly different animations for pretty much the same effect, same ways to counter it, same functionality, but have slightly varying animations. You have it all based on Eastern and Western styles. And I mean, really, you've got, you know, you could have a day or two spent with someone who does historical European martial arts, or, you know, you can actually just watch YouTube videos. There are people who do HEMA, historical European martial arts, like Matt Easton, Scalagrim, myself, what's his name? Shad, that's it, from Shadiversity. Those sorts of people showing the European stuff. You can have people showing the Asian stuff. You can have all these people having these different styles. You could try to mimic it in the game as best as you can. Or again, you can hire someone for a day or two to show you in person how it's done, tell you how it's done, and then have all of that going on. It'd be so exciting because you could have these people, not just, here are my stats, they're the best, I've got the big abyssal sword of Doom +1. Instead you've got these sort of, there is no best way to do it. You could have these swords which are optimal, and maybe such and such European sword, and the European swords do best with their thrusting, which means they do well against armour, but they don't really slice up as easily because they don't have curved swords that actually... What? Shit! I'm getting distracted. Hang on a second. Oh, hello Josh, this is Project Zomboid, because I'm dying again. I need to find an escape opportunity. Happens in a bush, but... big crowd. That's nice guard. Probably bitten already. Ah, shit cakes. You know what? Fine. Oh! Run! No! Run, run, run! Oh! Okay. He's dead. Yes. Ha! Too late, Josh. Too late. Started Maldra or whatever it is. Maldra. Set this up again. But yes. Either way, you guys should see what I mean with regards to how you can have different animations and things to make something look interesting, because I mean we all know that animations are important, because if it wasn't, all you'd have were little boxes, maybe with the great graphics, these little characters in that standard sort of I'm developing the game T position. The objective of the game? Not to die. There is no set objective, it's just a matter of surviving as long as you can. Some people try to go for time, so, see how many days, weeks, years in-game you can survive. Develop farms, cook food, do all of that stuff, and build up the skills. I personally, because you can get an actual counter at the end, I try to see how many zombies I can take down. But literally, you'll see it, there it is. That's the basis of the game. This is how you died. You won't see me, but I am putting a thumbs up right now. Because that is basically it. This is how you died. There is no objective complete, mission accomplished, level up. Well, there is level up, but... Actually, why is this here? There we are. Here I am. A bit of attention to the game while I'm answering questions, but whatever. In fact, usually I was distracted, I was just wandering around aimlessly. What I normally do in this game is I set up a permanent base. Now, I think I remember this street. Yeah, here it is, the one with the flowers. This is my... This! Imagine me pointing at the screen right now. This is my house. Wow, that knife broke quickly. Only goes for at least 3 or so rounds. I like the stamina theme in this game. Because... Come in. chair. See what? Let's have a look. Let me have a look. See if everything's going okay. Actually, let me just check that the yeah, maybe I'll have it at a lower resolution, but I'm already down to 720. It might be on a higher frame per second. I'm not sure I can change it. Okay. Let's see. Do. No. That is embarrassing. Just gonna have a check if okay, so it's on that minimum. Ah, obviously I don't have as fast internet as I thought I had with my upgrade. Let's change it to 480p. Actually, I'm noticing I don't really need this, do I? There we go. Make that live. Save. Can you hear me? Alright. Testing and all of that stuff. Ha! Oops. Meant now. Okay, that looks like it's continuing. I'm going to check and wait for responses. waiting for a response. Just make sure everything's reloaded and all going correctly. What about now? Can you not hear me? Good. Right, now I can stop these zombies back again. Is there a weapon? Oh, a map! I know some people would say they'd never hit a girl, but I think this counts as a reasonable exclusion, since you know, an aggressor and all. Now, are there any supplies in here? Oh, rolling pin. That'll do. Anything better? No. Is that a bite? Oh, it's a scratch. But there's still a chance that that is now infected. Either way, I'm going to keep going. Either I'm dead or I'm not. Well, we'll be dead if I don't get that treated. One thing I do like, they had the medical update. Bandaging, infections, foreign objects removed sometimes, like glass, or bullets if you got shot. That's really only ever going to happen on multiplayer though. They sure are relentless, these little buggers. Gotcha. That's 2. 1. Ah, there we go. How do we need to disinfect? I think I saw some whiskey. No. Alright. Let's pop this on. Oh. Sim style cutaways sometimes get me. This isn't even from the place I was designating as my house. Whoopsie. Phew, I was worried that door would be locked. Oh! Oh no. Oh dear. Not really what I wanted. Well, well, well. Oh dear. basically like shooting a gun almost. Well, not quite as bad as using a loud firearm, but the neighbourhood's come over for tea. Not exactly the best weapons right now. In fact, I don't even have a knife to take out individual ones out. That's excluding the fact that I'm bandaged, which is additionally excluding the fact that I might already be infected with the zombie virus from the scratch. There is a starter 25% chance. I think that's alleviated to a degree from my resilience to illness, disease. Oh, it's getting dramatic. Let's get ready and... Bugger off. Never mind. Here we are. Damn it. Break through that door eventually, especially since it's not barricaded. And that window's fragile as all buggery. I'll break through that in about a minute or less. And here they start. Alright, countdown is going, and we have a hammer, a butter knife, kitchen knife. Second hammer in case the first one breaks. I mean, it's not so bad, they constantly break, but... Right, this is the steady, controlled flow. Gotcha! See if I can start to pick them out. Too bunched up. Start to run at a certain threshold, so sometimes pick individual ones out from the lurchers. Nothing else. There might have been a pistol in the mailbox. Arrived just before the apocalypse, but that would be too lucky. And as my perks show, just like real life. Ooh, this one's gonna have some loot in it. bad guys. In fact, yep, they just came out the top window. Damn it! Never a moment alone. Okay, let me get up their sight. Yes. That is the general rule. Okay. No, in time. Nice try. Broken glass can cause injuries. Wait a second. It's hard to tell the bandage is dirty, but it might mean an infection. Let me have a check. So I can find a bit of a quiet time. I need a few seconds. Tries. Nothing behind me. Perhaps I'll do more of these sorts of live streams. In fact, to be honest, this was going to be a dedicated question answer day. And I thought this would add a bit of entertainment, because someone mentioned on my last one that it was a bit boring just having a looping clip, and of course just the text beyond that. I thought this would add something more dynamic while we were discussing the usual questions and answers stuff. How's the health doing? Not sure. It's staying in critical damage at the moment, which is not really good. I'll tell you what, I need some rest, so... try and make this a safe spot. I played The Witcher. The second one. Not the original Witcher, or the third one. Oh, 4 years off. Dirty bandage. Okay, well, they can fill each other in. But yeah, the second one I played a bit. I don't know if it was the it's one of those things with a steep difficulty curve or something, but I found it a bit... I found it quite tricky to play, to be honest. Maybe I'm just rubbish at playing, who knows? Now, strange, I think it's the whole stamina management. I realised that, I think probably to use the term that Jim Sterling uses, it's a Souls-like. So, if you do what you would expect, me being... that answers that question. That scratch was not just a mere scratch. Well, I killed 24. But yes, it seems that 25% chance was, well, as we all know, my luck is abysmal, so that meant, of course he's got the zombie virus. It only took one scratch early on, and, yes, rather adverse scenario. And that's why it's probably best to wear armour. Oh, but there's no armour in this game. Let's get that deleted. I can replay it, but there's no point. I like to play them from the beginning. So start a new sandbox. Oh yeah, stay in Maldra. Intro to this game. If you go through the tutorial, they go through basic stuff like use WASD to walk around, right click and use these options to do this stuff, and take objects from here, and sort of shows you the basics, and it's quite useful. It gives you a basic idea of how to use the game. But then it says, but oh dear, what if you get bitten? Oh no, that would be so inconvenient. Good thing you have a cure on you. Press Q to use the cure. Press the letter Q, which is the yell command, which is where you see the character going, hey, over here, and stuff. So they go, haha, psych, there's no cure, you're gonna die. I thought that was kind of funny. And at that point in the tutorial, it just piles an army of zombies on you. An actual army. Yes! Huh. What builder put this here? There's a shelf in the way of the light switch. I'm just going to suspend my disbelief for that moment. And yes, it really is sneaky, but funny nonetheless. Pistol rounds. Dead mouse. Lunch? Oh yes, different time period. Time periods? Time zones, rather. I forgot. For me, it's almost 8 in the evening, as opposed to lunchtime. But yes, perhaps I'll just do... Since I know Project Zomboid seems to at least agree with live streams, I can probably do that outside of the live stream sessions. Ha! Alright. Have fun witch hunting. Watching. So what, I think that is it. Yeah, we'll have that end for today, since that seems to be the only person left. Alrighty then. See you folks later. Goodbye. I'll try again. Goodbye.